Hello, hello. Sweet afternoon to you. Welcome to our Q&A for this month. I'm super excited to be here. We have some really great questions, and I'm just going to wait a few minutes while you're all settling in, see who's here with us. I see some folks. That's great. I want to give you an opportunity also, if you did not get a chance to forward this to your friends, please feel free to do that. Please feel free to share it however you might feel so inspired. It will be a lot easier to do from the YouTube page as well as from the email. So I want to say that. And then also want to say that if you are on Facebook with me, there's been some shenanigans happening with Facebook cutting out. So I want to make sure that you know that you can go over to the YouTube channel and join us if you get disconnected. It's live on the YouTube channel as well. And I want to make sure that you can head right on over there and get on in there and join us there. So that is available to you as well in the email that y'all received. The link, the YouTube link is there. And if you're catching this as a recording, you can just head on over to YouTube at Britt B. Steele, and you will find that the Q&A for today is a public talk. So just that. So just want to make sure that we're all here, that you're able to hear me. Oh, you know what? I bet you hardly heard any of that, didn't you? Is that what just happened? I didn't have my headset in. I was talking like I was with you here the whole time. I'm going to go ahead and take the headset out, and we're just going to start over, and I'm going to edit this out later. This is how you roll when I roll live. So I'm going to take this out. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it in. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in. And that way I'll just be on headset. So if you can hear me, tell me you can hear me. That would be lovely. Please do tell me that you can hear me. I won't be able to edit this out on the Facebook, so we're losing those few little bits, but I will be able to edit it out on YouTube. So can you hear me okay? Tell me in the comments if you can hear me okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to jump on over to Facebook and take a peek. We have some really great questions this morning I'm super excited about. So I am grateful to know that that is happening and that you guys came with your questions. Awesome. Okay. So, yay, you hear me. Perfect. Catherine can hear me. Anyone else? Anyone else have anything offhand? You can email me questions. I'll still check into the email to ensure that if you have a question for today, we'll jump right in. So I'm going to start out. I want to share with you something that came across the radar for me this morning. And it relates to why I want to be here with you and why I want to share. Very good. So there you are. Great. You made it, Breeze. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to share this with you because although it isn't a quote specifically from yoga, it really embodies the essence of yoga. And it's a quote by a woman named Britt, just like me, Britt Barron. And it's from her book, Worth It. Now, I haven't read that. Yay, Andrea, you can hear me. There we go. We're good. And even if you haven't read the book Worth It, I haven't read the book Worth It, but I just want to share this quote with you. She says, "We don't need to dig our heels deeper into the sand every time we feel the ground shift." We don't need to dig our heels deeper into the sand every time the ground shifts. So what does this mean as we walk together? What does it mean in terms of rising into your next best and highest evolution? And how do we find a balance between living our best lives and also not feeling as though we are always striving or always chasing after the carrot at the end of a stick that we'll never actually be able to taste? And what I offer is that I couple this with what my dear Swamiji so frequently has said to me over the years, and that is becoming is a disease. As if to say that carrot out there, that thing that we're striving for, that goal that we have, all of these things out there are essentially keeping us from appreciating and being present to what is here right now. He said it yesterday. I had the glorious opportunity to hear him in satsang, and he said, yesterday is dead, tomorrow is yet to be born. This is all we got, peeps, right here, right now. And this is the place from which we rise. And we are looking at how it is we make moment to moment to moment decisions that bring us into greater alignment, that bring us into a greater connection with our own heart's longing, with our highest desires. And then we let go best we are able. We let go best we are able and allow the universe to carry us. So every time we feel the ground shift, this doesn't mean we need to dig our heels in. Instead, I offer that what we are being invoked to do from the highest expression of ourselves, from the one who's waiting for you to create the space in your life for the life that is longing to live through you, to fill every cell in your body, that she is saying, relax here. She is saying, right here, right now, what can you do now, 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 now? This is all you got. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the questions. Pull those guys up. So I have 3 or 4 really great questions, and if anything else comes in the meantime, then we'll answer those as well. So my question of the day is about those of us who have partners who are not necessarily on the same sleep cycles as us. Are there good ways to shift going to bed early rather than staying up late? My partner and I have gotten into the habit of binge watching after a late dinner. Average bedtime is midnight and often beyond, which makes it impossible for me to start the day early. If I go to bed early, I'm awakened by his coming to bed an hour or 2 later, and separate bedrooms doesn't feel right. He is receptive to changing, so I could use more help. I could use helpful tips to make it easy. All right. She said, maybe start with a few consistent nights each week, or just do it every night and hope he comes along. All right. So we have a few things that are built essentially into this single question. Number one, she's speaking largely about how do I bookend my day with light? So before I talk about how I bookend my day with light, I'm going to talk about why we bookend our day with light. Because we really need to have a deep understanding of why we're doing what we're doing so we can make a decision based upon whether or not that aligns truly with our values. Because there's choices to be made, right? So why do I bookend my day with light? So I'll speak about me and I'll speak about the yogic tradition. Before I do that, I want to say that I know some really lovely human beings on this planet who are productive and are happy and are well-adjusted human beings, and they choose to go to bed late and to wake up late. That's not my choice or my path, nor is it essentially the yogic path. That's not to say there's anything wrong with that or that it doesn't serve some folks. We are not all called to this particular path. The reason that it is the way it is as an offering, remember, through the yogic path or through the teachings that I've shared with you, you can do differently, or you cannot do, grasshopper. You can do what I'm offering. You cannot do what I'm offering, or you can do differently what I'm offering. So those are your options and your choices, always and in all ways. So with that, I'm going to tell you why we do it. The cycle of light is natural to the human body. It has only been a fraction of human existence, like since the light bulb was invented, since electricity was invented 100 and some years ago, which is literally a fraction of a lifetime. Timeline of humanity, blip. That we have been able to hang out on our telephones, to imbibe in Netflix, right? To even have dinner late because there's light available to us. So keep that in mind first, that the way that we're living now is not natural to the human body. What is natural to the human body is the same thing that is natural to our cousins, for example, the chimpanzees, in a natural setting. So why do I choose to go to bed close to when the light goes down? To do my best to go to bed when it's dark out. Because I hold within my body rhythms of nature that keep me balanced between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, that keep me functioning well amidst and among all of my systems: digestion, respiration, cardiology, reproductivity, nervous system, endocrine system, all of my hormones, right? All these things. And many things we don't even know nor understand in terms of how light potently and powerfully affects our vitality, and how darkness and riding these cycles of nature affects our ability to release ourselves into alpha sleep patterns where our whole body, this whole mind-body complex, this whole skin bag and everything that's contained within it, including our emotions and our thoughts, how all of that needs time to reset. So that's really why we do it. It's not about having discipline. It's the reason that we practice that discipline. It's because, as Vivekananda has said, and you've heard me say, to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick world is no measure of health. So therefore, if your sleep patterns are all wonkus, you are predisposing yourself to undesirable epigenetic shifts. Now, what was that? So there's genetics. There's like the things you got from in your DNA from your mama and your papa and your grandma and your grandpa on both sides, and they're a little different, but they work together and they create this sort of magic potion, and they show up right here in your body right now. And epigenetics is this whole new branch of research that has come out that is validated by all of the yogic teachings and the Vedic and the Ayurvedic teachings, that's here to say, aha. When your whole body is aligned with the rhythms of nature, your body functions optimally. And the things that you want to be turned on, like resilience to particular pesticides and herbicides, that those resiliencies are cranked up, And those things that we don't want turned on, like sleepy little oncogenes, cancer cells that we all have in our bodies, to be turned on. We don't want cancer and heart disease and inflammation turned on. We want resiliency to be turned on and turned up. When we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of nature, that's what happens. So this piece alone has to be aligned with your values, because you're creating a mechanism to optimize your body so that you can do the best in your own life in terms of having the energy and inspiration and impact that you want in your life, as well as having the energy and the clarity and the presence to be even-keeled, open-hearted, and present in all of your loving relationships, coworkers, with the neighbors, with the clerk at the health food store, with your partner, with your children, with your in-laws, all of them, companions at work, all of them, people of the opposite party or political perspective in your family, all of them. You're offering up a more present and loving opportunity to be more responsible, able to respond. Now, it's not to say that you're going to just like freak out and be a mess and never brush your teeth again, or, get cancer tomorrow if you don't do that. No, not necessarily. My mother never followed these things per se, and she's happy and relatively healthy and, is who she is at 80 some years old, 86 years old. So I'm not saying that you can't have those things without this. I'm saying there's a whole package, and yoga is about integration. Yoga is about integrating all parts of life so that we can be our best in body, mind, heart, and spirit. So we can be present, so we can be open-hearted, so we can make great impact in this world. That may or may not be your dharma, your life path. But if it is, then there's a good chance that there's going to be a correlation to you wanting to align your sleep patterns with the patterns of nature. So there's that, and that alone. Similarly, the second piece of this question is eating. So if we're eating late at night, what we find is that our body spends more time in digestion, and once again, we can't sleep as well. We can't sleep as rested. We don't get the whole benefits out of our sleep that are available to us. So just in the comments, I'd love to hear, how does this resonate with you so far? I don't want to just blabber on and on. Tell me how this resonates with you as I carry on. So you can hear that in this question of one of our beautiful members, that there's a lot of pieces at play that are way bigger than us and way older, more ancient than us. So there's that. And then there's this reality that the world is like pushing us to be a certain way and do a certain thing and to carry this thing with us 24/7. Like to never leave home without this. To take this to bed with us, to take it into the bathroom with us, to take it with us into the kitchen, to have it in the car with us. You see how crazy that is? So our work is to continue to release the grip. This is a representation of external locus of control. This is a representation, without getting into all of it, although I could, of psychological instability. We gotta tend to that, pick that up and use that consciously, not unconsciously, consciously. Okay, so phew. All right, so loving to hear from you, loving to hear what's resonating with you, loving to hear from you, and know if this is touching you. So I'm just going to slip on over here. There you go. So we're hearing it. Awesome. Okay, so you're hearing me. Muy bien. Great. Excelente. So reminder, just a sweet little reminder, if for some reason we lose our connection in Facebook, because Facebook's having some real problems with dropping connections, dropping live connections, you just want to go right back to the email and just click right through the link to find me over on YouTube. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to go back into the question because this is a really loaded and important question. Partners who are not necessarily on the same sleeping rhythm. Are there good ways to shift going to bed earlier rather than staying up late? Binge watching after a late dinner. So you got the binge watch, you got lots of things to work through. We all do, right? This is the nature of our humanity. We're messy. There's wanting to tend to the partnership. There's binge watching. There's late dinner. So then there is not wanting to sleep in separate beds and being awakened at night. So all these things are deeply connected. We could spend our whole hour on this, but we won't. But what I'll say is, are there easy ways? Are there easy ways? And I'm going to say, no easy way. There's no easy way. There's simple ways. And when you look at the first piece of it, as if to say, when you look at, all right, like what's the lowest hanging fruit in this? Dinner. Get dinner way earlier. Get dinner way earlier. Because what's going to happen is if you can shift dinner earlier and you're like, but we're not hungry. Okay, get lunch earlier. Oh, but we're not hungry. Get breakfast earlier, right? You got to start somewhere. Oh, I got to get up earlier. Okay, well, then that's not going to work. Get lunch earlier. If you're not going to be hungry for something and you're going to eat, move your lunch a little earlier, make your lunch a little smaller. Move your dinner earlier so that you are able to then have food digested and have your Netflix set so you watch your Netflix and have a conversation with your partner because you say he's willing and say, you know what, buddy? I would love to be able to rise earlier in the morning. Can we try this for 40 days and 40 nights? Can we try this? Can we try getting up earlier, eating dinner earlier? So you have a hard stop for work earlier. And here's the thing. It is way easier. Hear this big one. It is way easier to do 100% than to do 90%. So I say 40 days, 40 nights, get in there and try it. If he's like, whoa, that's a lot. Say, okay, 2 weeks. Can we try it for 2 weeks? 14 days and 14 nights. As if to say, we're going to move dinner earlier, we're going to move Netflix earlier, we're going to move going to bed earlier. And then if he wants to sleep in, no problem. And you get up earlier. That's number one. So it's not necessarily easy, but it's simple. That's the first piece. Then look at your values, like how important it is to you. How important is this to you? For you to be aligned with nature. Are the benefits that you receive from that big enough where you're willing to, right, ready for this? Where you are willing to go to bed without him. And I'm here to say, if you go to bed earlier, if you oil your feet, if you eat dinner earlier, you're going to sleep more deeply and there's going to be a decreased risk of you waking up in the night, and perhaps you can help him come in more quietly. You can say, hey, if I go to bed earlier, this is the thing that happens if we don't go to bed at the same time. And so therefore, I'm wondering if you could use a flashlight, brush your teeth in the other bathroom, change your pajamas, and then just slip into bed. Versus coming in, turning the lights on in the bathroom that's adjacent to the bedroom, brushing his teeth, tapping his toothbrush on the counter, you know, all that stuff happening and waking you up. So I don't know if those things are happening, but just saying that these are some of the things that would get in the way. So that's my answer to that question. I hope that's helpful. All right, so I'm coming on into the next question, question number 2. And this is, the next question is, okay, when you're really, really wanting something to happen, how do you find the balance between intention and pushing to make it happen? When you really want something to happen, how do you find the balance between intention and pushing to make something happen. I'm trying to put it out into the universe, but then find myself slipping back to willful and forceful. Okay, so there's a few pieces in this. Yogic. Number one, remember, if you remember, our conversation around trying. Okay? So if this is my counter, and here's a pen, and I say, try to pick up the pen. Try to pick up the pen. And you go. And I say, no, you picked up the pen. Oh. Try to pick up the pen. No. You picked up the pen. Try to pick up the pen. There you go. You're trying to pick up the pen. Trying to pick up the pen. It's action. There's no trying, grasshopper. It's action. This is huge. So when we say we're trying to give it over to the universe, we're not giving it over to the universe. That's just the nature of it. It's not happening. Okay? So that being said, I'm trying to put it out into the universe, but find myself slipping back to willful and forceful. I'm going to circle back to what I said in answering the last question. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do something 100% than to do it 90% of the way. If you're going to do a cleanse, don't do a 90% cleanse, do a 100% cleanse. If you're going to fast, do 100% fast. If you're going to do an exercise program for 30 days, do 100% of that exercise program, not 90% of that exercise program. That extra 10% is going to leave you in that place of being pushed and pulled and not knowing, I don't want to, and waking up and being stressed out about, I don't want to, and being your own naysayer and fighting against yourself. It's going to happen. 100% in, number one, 100% in. Right? This is the devotee. This is saying, I'm showing up every day on the mat. This is Britt coming to her cushion every single morning on the mat. Every single morning. I don't feel great. I roll over. I don't feel like sitting for my meditation. Okay, I'm just going to lie here. I'm going to play the music and I'm just going to rub my feet or rub my belly if I have a tummy ache. But I don't not do it. Because that is my power center. That's the place that I go to set those intentions. Again, bookending your day with light. When you bookend your day with light, you set your intention in the morning. Yogi style, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Right? All of these pieces make a huge difference. Right? This is how we do this. So then, when you really, really want something to happen, how do you find balance between intention and pushing to make it happen? There's no pushing. There's no pushing. There is essentially a deep connection to setting the intention and then opening our fingertips. If I want something to happen, I say, what can I do today? What can I do right now to lay a foundation for this to come to me if it is mine to be had? Right? I've been in a big time and space of saying, thy will, not my will. How do I put my attention and put my intention into the ways in which that I can hold space for letting go of what I think is best for me, because there's no way for me to know that. And how do I keep turning my attention to, it's that thing, letting go and letting God, letting go and letting God. Call it what you will. Letting go and letting God. Right? All of these pieces, part and parcel of the whole. so that we can keep setting our intention on making the most of the relationship that's been laid before us. You were not given a heartbeat. You have no responsibility over whether or not you have a heartbeat or whether or not you are able to take your next breath. It is all about, completely and entirely, how it is that you turn your attention to creating an environment of trust. Trust in the trustworthy. Trust in this universe. Do your little bits, do your little parts as you are able, in the ways that you are able, so that you can then be held, and that you don't find yourself on the other side of something feeling as though, oh, I asked for this and it's not quite what I wanted. But you know the story about corn? You and I, we go out to a restaurant, I'm hungry, and I'm like, oh, I just really want some corn. Like, I really want some corn. Corn sounds so good to me. And in my mind, I've got this vision of corn on the cob. It's this heirloom corn. I've got grass-fed butter that has Himalayan salt and a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. And I'm just like, oh, and it's like perfectly prepared over a grill. I'm so ready for this. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'd like to order some corn. So I order some corn, and over comes the waiter with my food, and I get a bowl, a little white porcelain bowl, and there's creamed corn poured from a can handed to me. As my teacher always says in the yogic tradition, you are always going to get what you ask for. Always. Be careful what you ask for. Oh, I wasn't specific enough. So I've just learned, and it feels way better, to just simply say again and again and again, thy will, not my will. Thy will, not my will. So here's the thing that happened. I had this, without getting into a lot of details, I had this really amazing opportunity to be part of something that I thought was going to be absolutely incredible. And so I go to sign the paperwork, and I'm all ready to go do this. This is not about the beach property, by the way, just so if you're like wondering. I just don't need to get into the details. And I was all ready to do it, and all of a sudden, everything fell apart. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? Oh, it's not possible because of this, and that person wants this other thing instead. And I was like, all right, amen. And I had all these people saying, when I started telling my people who knew about it, I'm like, oh, that fell through. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I'm not. Grand protector, great protection in place. That's all I needed, was just to be held, was just to be held securely, just to be protected. Nothing more, nothing less. Thy will, not my will. Because I guarantee I'm going to miss something that as my teacher says, that the big zucchini in the sky isn't going to miss. Right? He always says the big zucchini in the sky. So I'm going to miss something. So I'm just going to keep on saying, like, hey, get me out of the way and just keep moving through me. What's best for me? I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to do my best every day. If I feel that compulsion, if I feel drawn to it, I'm going to do a little thing that's going to bring me in that way. But I know if I'm manipulating, I know if I'm turning my attention to something that isn't going to support the greatest good. I know it. And I particularly know it if I'm eating well, I'm moving my body, I'm not numbing down and dumbing out. Right? I know it. I know it to be true. So when I really, really, really want something to happen, I open my fingers and give it to the divine. When I'm looking for balance between intention and pushing to make it happen, there's no making. I open my fingers and I take good care of myself, others in the world, and I keep doing everything in my power to do my best. When I'm trying to put it out in the universe, but find myself slipping back to willful and forceful, I keep going again and again and again and again and again and again and again, back to the ways in which that I can tend to my heart, fill the well, listen and look for signals, and follow tiny little signals and take care. Doors are going to open where I'm supposed to walk through. Doors are going to close where I'm not supposed to walk through. That which is meant to be yours cannot be kept from you. And that which is not yours will never be for you. That which is meant to be yours cannot be kept from you. And that which is not meant to be yours will never be. All right, so I think there's one more question coming in. How's that sitting? Yay, opening my fingers. It's the work, right? It's simple, but not easy. Simple, but not easy. All right, so let's see here. Yes, can hear. Awesome. There it is. Questions. All right, so one more question. Haven't read this one yet. How do I find worth and feel like enough when I'm pulled in so many directions and everyone seems upset for me for not doing enough at work, at home, with kids, with family issues, with exes, with associations related to this is a big one, honey. So Glennon Doyle is not a yogi, but she said a yogini, but she says something super potent. She says, what has happened in our culture that for women, one of the greatest compliments we can receive is being called selfless. As if to say, being told that you don't have a self, right? We are undoing eons of imbalance when we stand up and fill the well. To answer your question, and as I've had great wisdom teachers say to me, you will not be given a standing ovation when you begin to take care of yourself, if it means someone else too must take care of him or herself. It's a subtle shift in terms of learning to say no to the little things and or creating space so that you have more freedom. So Viktor Frankl, right, psychiatrist who was in a concentration camp, a Jewish prisoner of war. He describes freedom as the distance between stimulus and response. Stimulus and response. So frequently, we cram those two together. There's a stimulus, hey, I need this from you. And we have a habit of just doing it. And then we might feel resentment, or we might feel exhausted, or we might feel grateful that we were able to help because we all want to be helpful, but then we feel exhausted or something feels out of integrity. So the work in that is to create space. Stimulus and response. Someone asks you for something and you say, I would really love to help you. I'd like to get back to you. I want to look at my calendar. Someone asks you for something and you say, I'm not sure if I'm able to do that. So we ask essentially how it is that we can create space for ourselves in that moment. We say, I hear that you want me to do this and I'd love to be helpful. I need a little time to figure out my schedule. I've got something else that I need to do. So for right now, I'm not sure if we can't simply say no, right? The distance between stimulus and response, that gap is where you will find your freedom. It's your freedom to choose. It's what allows for you to be responsible, and you alone, nobody else, impossibly anyone else. You alone are responsible for your thoughts, your words, your feelings, and your actions. So you are consistently being given the opportunity, you've heard me say this before, to rise into the next best and highest evolution of yourself. Hear me roar. The universe is conspiring on your behalf in every given moment to give you exactly what you need to rise into the next best and highest expression of yourself. When you hear the call, will you heed the call? And it helps to remember, I'm probably not going to get a standing ovation when I choose to go get a massage instead of making you dinner. I'm not going to get a standing ovation when I turn all my attention to this thing when you're throwing things at me that you want me to get done. And I say, I'm not sure if I can do it. Now, the tricky thing in a work situation is there's a power play. So anyone who's above you can ask these things of you. And maybe you were hired for that job to do everything that was said. So that's a tricky one. That might be a longer plan to change that dynamic. And if you can't change the dynamic within the relationship, within the work relationship, then we change the job. But in our homes, if this is happening, guess what? You got it in you to change that. And we're not talking about thump. We're talking about, you know what? I'm going over here because I'm just going to get that sense and feel for what I'm doing. Just like the first question I answered around going to bed. If you got to go to bed earlier, that's all about you. Take that on, do that. If the value that you receive, if the value is that you receive from going to bed earlier and getting up earlier is that great and gives you that much inspiration, you're going to find it's going to be really easy for you to go Netflix or totally inspired tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to dumb down and watch Netflix and be totally uninspired and tired in the morning. Yeah, of course I'll choose that. No, you won't. You won't. Your body will tell you. Right? Lisa Erickson, stimulus response, freedom in the pause, just like in the breath. Exactly. It's one of the powerful aspects of the breath, is it gives us that opportunity to exhale, let everything out, to feel what's there, to receive and cultivate more of what works for us, to be open to the possibility that the universe is conspiring on our behalf in every given moment to give us absolutely everything that we need to rise into our next best and highest evolution. Exhale. Let everything but that go. Get to the bottom. Let go everything we don't need. Open our fingers. Release. Inhale. Fill the well. Release, let go. Fill the well. Release, let go. Fill the well. That's how it is. Just like that. Just like that. So I hope that answers your question. So we had really great questions today. I'm going to leave it at that unless there's someone else who's emailed in the meantime. I'm seeing no other questions at this time. So that's it. So please do tell your friends. We will come and do a Q&A every month. I'll be here for a Q&A through the end of the year. So please know that that's available to you and anyone who wants to be a part of this group, anyone from Pilgrim who's not over here yet, anyone from Radical Self-Care Roadmap who's not over here yet, anyone who did the 5-day self-care challenge, come on over here. So just keep on coming. It's going to remain available to you. It will be right here in the Facebook group. I'm presuming we didn't get dropped in Facebook, so that's awesome. And then I want to just remind you and offer up to you that you can find this here. It will be in the announcements, and it will also always be over on the on my YouTube channel, and it will be public over there. So you can share from there, you can copy the link, you can post it onto Facebook. We want this community to continue to grow. If you haven't had an opportunity to check out my new website, there's a bunch of new freebies over there. Head on over there. Same thing, brittbsteele.com. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear if you have any recommendations, or if there's anything that you feel like is missing on the site, or if there's anything that you particularly love about the site, that would just warm my heart. So sending you lots of love. It's just a little refresh. It's not a total revamp, but it's a pretty big revamp. So pretty big redo. So that's all I got. I love you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending 50 minutes with me. And I look so forward to our next connection. Okay, big love. Ciao.